it's safe to say that the 21st century is probably the calmest one in the history of feminism. I mean, we here don't have to fight for our voting rights anymore. We're generally perceived as equal by most people. We get paid almost as much as men. I mean, how convenient, right? The truth is, though, that we as a society are constantly making some kind of progress. And it's not just my own thoughts, too. The research conducted last year by the UNDP shows that even developing countries such as Kazakhstan are on their way towards closing the gender pay gap. The STEM Women Foundation reports that the number of women employed in the STEM sector is only rising by huge percentages each year. But the painful truth is that despite all those facts, we are still away from achieving gender equality. Okay. um, in fact, UN Women reports that it will take us a whooping 286 years to achieve full gender equality worldwide. And now is probably the right time to ask, why would it take us so long? Why, despite being so progressive, and why, despite all this progress I've just mentioned, is it such a long process way ahead of us? Why is society still intimidated by women who achieve success or who aim to be successful? Is it perhaps our own unintended actions and words that contribute to consolidating those stereotypes that we try so hard to fight and condemn? Well, first of all, historians find that the gender roles as we know them today have been developed in the Victorian era, which basically means that the whole women are birth givers and stay at home moms and men are the breadwinners agenda is over 150 years old. However, if you open, let's say, a random textbook from social studies in the Polish curriculum, you'll find that those same exact gender roles are still being taught. Pretty outdated, yet still they are being implemented in the curriculum. And while we may laugh at it, let's say for a bit, the fact is that the thing that they're still being taught contributes to solidifying a phenomenon called toxic masculinity. And toxic masculinity refers to behaviors or actions or words that are guided by the idea or pressure of men having to be as masculine as it is possible. It's when men are told not to cry, or when men do something that isn't considered stereotypically masculine and are accused of being feminine or, God forbid, gay. Um, those behaviors and the fact that they're still being out there is the sole result of those exact gender roles still being implemented. Toxic masculinity reinforces the male dominance as the norm in the society. Hence, when women challenge it by achieving any form of success, it's kind of normal because of toxic masculinity for some people to feel intimidated or, let's say, disturbed. And toxic masculinity does refer to men, but there's also another term you probably might have heard of that refers to us women, and it's internalized misogyny. Internalized misogyny is when women are being misogynistic towards themselves or other women, because we as members of the society reflect ideologies that have been pushed onto us, and without even realizing it, we reflect them with our actions or words. For example, when you say, I'm not like other girls, and differentiate yourself from other women as if they were way worse, that's probably a good sign and a wake up call for you, meaning internalized misogyny has probably gotten to you. Those two phenomenons are really connected, and the fact makes us really sad. Why? Because it really shows us how society, media, other people have a huge influence on us. And now that we've diagnosed some of the underlying causes, I'd like to address the fact that I know for some people, this particular topic might be a little controversial. Someone even said that, well, if I try to find gender as an excuse for, intimidating behaviors, then I'm just too young and I don't know anything about the existing world, right? So, for the doubtful, I've prepared a couple examples of women whose amazing successes have been undermined constantly throughout history. So, firstly, we'll go back to the 1800s to an activist called Matilda Gage. Matilda Gage was a feminist back when it was way more controversial and difficult to do so. And she describes in one of her essays a scenario. So let's picture it. There's a female scientist named Clara, and Clara makes this groundbreaking scientific discovery. But it is her male scientist colleague, let's say Clark, who will get the credit for Clara's discovery. This phenomenon is scientifically called the Matilda effect, and it's happened to so many women throughout history. For example, Rosalind Franklin, who's been known for making huge contributions to the discovery of DNA structure, or even Mary Skłodowska-Curie, who originally wasn't even going to be included on the credits to one of the works that eventually got her awarded with the Nobel Peace Prize. And the Matilda effect is believed to be the sole cause for successful women to be so stigmatized even nowadays, because women did not get credited for their work. They've been there ever since the beginning. But as history went down, the word of their work was not being passed down, and hence they became, in a way, invisible. And it's been said to have set us back by decades of possible progress. That's why, even now, if you are a now 14 Grammy Award winner and have been named Time Person of the Year, you will still find some people who try to undermine this person's success by saying, oh, she's not all that, or she's all for the attention. And I personally find the example of Taylor Swift to be the perfect case of how no matter how hard a woman can work and achieve successes and break all the records out there, people will still undermine them because of her sex and her sex only. Her, let's say, song Blank Space wins multiple awards. Yeah, she's just all about her exes. Can she get a life? Okay. So then she makes an album called Folklore, and it's brand new, it's indie, it wins an award. But she's trying so hard to be different, and this could go on forever. And, she, for example, gets called out for a controversy. I always knew it. She's been evil. You can tell by the eyes. But when a fellow, let's say certain male artist, gets called out for anti Semitism, I'll let it slide. I love this album of his. This just shows where the priorities of our societies really lie. And as Taylor Swift once said, misogyny is engraved in people ever since they are born. So what we, individual people, can do to combat this issue? Well, first of all, don't be afraid to speak up in any way, shape, or form. Doesn't necessarily have to be a TED Talk. For example, we now live in an age of social media, and I find social media to be such a great tool if used right. You can spread awareness on any topic chosen, and spreading awareness is the sole basis for condemning and combating the issue. Although, when speaking of social media, I'll have to underline another way of combating this issue is to watch your language and the trends you choose to participate in. I don't know if you've heard of this trend called girl math recently on social media. If you haven't, it's basically the phenomenon of describing behaviors that might not be considered the brightest by some people and putting the word girl in front of it, or saying, oh, it's just girl math. And it might seem like a silly little harmless trend, but those exact trends consolidate toxic masculinity and internalized misogyny, all the phenomenons I've just mentioned. So, watching your words, watching the trends you participate in, is also a really crucial thing. And if you do believe that your voice does not make a difference, just think of all the women that, for example, fought and made it possible for us to vote, that made it possible for us to work, and for men to not be the sole breadwinners. The women thanks to whom we get credited for our work. The women thanks to whom I could also speak here today, and you'll also see that our voice truly makes a difference. Thank you.